contemplative pedagogy as a teaching method that helps all members of the classroom community, the professor included, to look inward with personal awareness and then extend that awareness outward to foster a social awareness that hopes to acknowledge our interconnectedness to each other. Hello, class. Hope you're doing well today. I'm so happy to see you here. I would like us to rearrange our classroom desks into a circle. If there's anyone who does not feel up to that task or comfortable with that task, please don't strain your muscles. Your classmates and I won't judge you. If you are moving the desks, please be mindful of your surroundings, including the people around you, and be careful that you don't hurt yourself while you're moving the desks. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Good, thank you. Feels like a perfect circle.
That's what he's saying.
It really does. As a part of my pedagogical method that employs contemplative pedagogy, I ask my students to arrange their desks into a circle. I believe that all members of my classroom community are important. The circle setting allows us to acknowledge that importance as we get to know each other, talking directly to one another, which creates a classroom intimacy that builds community. Essentially, the circle setup creates the space that allows for a communal connection to each other in a way that has the power to transform each individual, including myself. Hopefully this also makes you feel more comfortable speaking as a part of our class discussion.
The best way to put it is that circle setups are possibly the best way for students and teachers to engage in sort of a more cooperative way of learning. And so when you put students and teachers in a sort of circular form, you will get a more intimate relationship and you will form more bonds with each other, and you can allow more ease of use within conversations.
I sit with my students because I become a co-inquirer and facilitator of our classroom discussion. As a co-inquirer, I participate in the discussion as I too aim to learn. When my students see this, I sense that they feel comfortable enough to share during the discussion without the intimidation of a professor's authority. As a facilitator, I guide the discussion by ensuring that we are on track with our dialogue. Overall, the circle setup provides the space for a sensitive dialogue with our interconnectedness in mind.
I kind of feel very comfortable when professors and teachers decide to sit with the students because it provides more of a dynamic feel, and it provides more of a way for students to feel at ease with the professor instead of seeing the professor up front and has somewhat most of the authority, where if a professor comes in and say, hey, let me join in, or just decide to jump in, you can see that the professor and the students have this bond together.
I begin my class with a secular meditation. Here, I do not aim to impose a religious tradition onto my students. What I do hope to accomplish is to provide my students with the opportunity to participate in a secular meditation that engages in an inner exploration to help them gain focus through self-awareness. I hope to remind my students that they are a whole person who has a purpose in the world. Scan your body from head to toe. If you feel any pain, just acknowledge that pain and let it go. You may even wish to slightly move your body in a way that helps you to let go of that pain. During the instrumental piece, you may wish to take a few belly breaths. To take a belly breath, you slowly inhale, pushing your tummy all the way in. And then you slowly exhale, pushing your tummy all the way out. The goal here of this activity is to help you maintain focus and awareness as we enter our class discussion. If the music or the visual or this activity makes you uncomfortable in any way, you should feel free to leave the room for a few minutes, then come back, But if you do that, be sure to convey your discomfort to me right after class. I ask my students to let go of any distractions and instead focus on their purpose for being in college and being in our classroom. With this mindset, we hope to make each and every single class a productive space of learning. While I use Eastern instrumental pieces during the meditation, it is important to know that silence is also a viable method. I choose to use the Eastern instrumental pieces because I feel that it helps to create an aura that allows for personal introspection through music.
Marla, can you please take the lights off?
The musical instrumentals were calming, and they definitely didn't have too much of an awkward silence. It was quiet enough to hear your own thoughts, but also like a good mellow tune to continue meditating.
Philosophy for Children, also known as P4C, is a movement that focuses on the development of intellectual rigor through a community-based discussion inquiry for students of all ages, ranging from early childhood to adulthood. The discussion emerges based on the interests of the group. Here, it is important to remember that in a P4C setting, the educator is a co-inquirer who facilitates the discussion.
I feel like every time someone presented their philosophy, they were always presented with a question or some type of, let's say, clarificational type of means of questioning, which I thought was good because it's always good to challenge someone's way of thinking to see if they really know what they're talking about and if they really are truthful to what they're saying. So I always thought that was good about everyone in the classroom. They always said exactly how they felt. They didn't exactly care about how everyone else was responding, even though a lot of us did have the same way of thinking. Maybe not the same way, but the same type of thinking. But yeah, definitely came in with a lot of questions, and we can make our own answers from them. So.
At the start of the semester, I teach my students to engage in a philosophy for children discussion that employs Socratic questioning. I teach my students how to think, not what to think, but how to think about asking appropriate questions during the discussion. I ask them to tie their questions to a critical thinking move, which helps them to think deeply about why they ask what they ask.
I'm constantly analyzing, I'm constantly trying to figure out and go below the surface and what's that really about, and is that really true, and what if we look at it from this perspective? So there was a lot of shift in perspectives, I think.
Students were encouraged to participate and speak during class. I felt it gave them a very personal space where they can not only talk about the issue that we were discussing in class, but also any discussion matters that we wanted to talk about ourselves.
Being able to engage in a conversation where there's two different views, it creates a space for either compromise or more disagreement, open-mindedness, willingness to listen. A whole lot of things happened. A whole lot of things happened in here that were fascinating to me, really. I never thought, I constantly I'm always questioning myself, not in a negative way, like am I doing the right thing or anything like that, but questioning my actions, my motives, what's my motive behind anything I'm doing to find out more about myself. And it's very similar for me to psychology. It's just broader because there's other ideas that come into play. So it was absolutely fascinating for me.
We philosophized about philosophy. The different branches of philosophy that we did go over, my favorite being Plato, really changed my whole perspective on just being education in general, just being an educator, going to be an educator, anything of that matter.
I'm so happy to hear that you had a good experience and that you enjoyed our circle and that you felt comfortable enough to speak. I'm also so happy to hear that we did have some transformation in here in our thinking, that we can look at multiple perspectives and see different reasons for a philosophical argument. We may not agree with the argument or take that stance, but we can most certainly learn how to understand and see the argument or so. So I think at this time it would be a good time to do our pulse and get set up for our validation. So let's all stand in a circle. We don't want to hold hands yet because we want to do our validations first. When I was in the peer leadership program in high school, my lifelong mentor, Fran Wien, formerly Fran Doyle, would sometimes end our meetings with an activity called the Pulse. I found this to be a powerful activity that created an interconnected feeling of oneness among the group despite our many differences. I decided to incorporate this closure activity as a part of my contemplative pedagogy. Okay, so let's not hold hands yet, okay? I want to use this moment to give each other validations. So if you feel that you want to say something to another classmate, this is the time. I would just like to say to you that really it was an honor for me to be your professor this semester, and I hope that we'll continue to work together on various projects. I know we're working on our summer research project together, and if anyone is interested in doing a project of that nature or so, or writing a conference proposal and thinking about that, that's something we can definitely talk about. I think that it's important to remember, like I said in the beginning of class, we all have a purpose. Sometimes our purpose is clouded and you can't quite see it quite clearly, but it's important to remember that we do have a purpose, and we have to remember that. Remember that we're all interconnected together as a part of our campus and a part of our world and our society. So who would like to start?
Other than that, guys, thank you guys for just opening up my mind to, new and different ideas. Us all coming from different backgrounds, really opens me up to, understanding not only, being a Caucasian male, but, looking in through different, eyes and aspects. So you guys have made me better. I know that I'm better from it. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Miles.
I'm dittoing that. That was perfect.
It's easy when one person has to say it.
You set the standard.
And thank you, because this was really a beautiful experience.
Thank you.
And if I ever have a problem with the way I think, I'm going to you. Sorry.
How will you know if you have a problem with how you think?
Man. There's a problem.
How will you know what is right?
This is philosophy at work, see? Through my self-study research, I came to realize how valuable the pulses for my students and me. At the end of class, we stand in a circle. We validate each other and briefly talk about how we did in the discussion as a class. Sometimes, students open up very intimately in the space as they share things that they struggle with personally. Thanks. Should we pulse on that note? So to pulse, take your right hand and put it over your left and hold the person's hand next to you, assuming that they're comfortable. I am going to squeeze Marla's hand. Marla's going to continue the pulse, and when it gets back to me, then we'll turn around and be off. That we have to remember that we all are a part of each other, right? And we all have a purpose. If one part of the heartbeat malfunctions, then the heart will go bad, right? So for that reason, I think it's so important to be sure that we show care and concern for each other. And this is why I like to end our class with a pulse. I hope that it didn't make you too uncomfortable, and I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. It does. I think you would have told me too if it made you uncomfortable. Because you
got uncomfortable when you waited for like 20 minutes. You got the person who goes, ew.
That's what happens though when someone starts a philosophical discussion right when we're getting ready to pause. So on that note, I'll go ahead and send it around, okay? I wish you all success, and I wish all of you the best as you move on into your college careers. And don't forget, I'm always here for you. Thank you. Yes.